Welcome back to the channel, good friends. Brian from Apex Detail. Today we are going to compare some of my favorite and most effective finish polishes on the market today. And we're going to put them on the same test panel and have them do a little bit of correction, finish out, remove 3000 grit sand marks, and see which one gives us the highest gloss possible. Before we get started, I do want to remind those out there that aren't in our Facebook group. And if you're not in the Facebook group, Apex Detail Sport Group, why aren't you? It's really an excellent place to get together with other like-minded detailers. We share information, we ask and answer questions, and we just basically, and more importantly, are there to support each other. I have a training session coming up the beginning of November, the 6th and the 7th. It's a Saturday and a Sunday from 10 to 5 or 6-ish. And in those 2 days, we will cover everything. Everything from the basics to sales and communication with the customer, wet sanding, rotary, dual action polisher, marketing, and anything in between. All right, so let's get this started. We're going to start with the 3D ACA 520. And I have my 3-inch polisher, which has a finishing pad on it. So everything we're doing today has to deal with finishing up, removing haze, light imperfections, and giving us the best gloss and clarity on the surface we're working on. We're going to take one panel trip down through the panel and back, correction speed, which is normally 1 inch every second or two, with the normal pressure. My thumb is normally on top of the polisher. That's how I like to operate it, just guiding the polisher and putting pressure down with my thumb. That way I know I'm not putting too much pressure down and spiking temps on the panel. And we're going to run the polisher at the 4th speed setting. So let's get this going. By the way, this panel as a whole has an average of 54 gloss units. We're going to see just how much we can improve the gloss readings and then see which one has the highest. We're also going to use a panel prep, and we're going to see which ones have filling capabilities and how much can they improve gloss with those filling capabilities even more than having a bare panel. If you're doing a true paint correction, you don't want any fillers. You definitely want something that will give you a what you see is what you get finish. However, there are troubled clear coats out there just too thin to chase, and sometimes fillers are important, so it can go both ways. This here, no dust whatsoever, a very long cycle time or open time. Not really hard to wipe off, although I've heard instances where it is a little grippy or grabby wiping that residue off, but you can see a huge difference. We're going to put the gloss meter on there, and right away that'll give us 92.9, 93, but we want to make sure there's no residues or fillers within the polish, so we'll use a panel prep. Okay, let me bring you in close now, and we're going to see that it dropped slightly, about 4 or 5 tenths of a gloss unit down to 92.5. So there is some filling capabilities, and that will give you the results that we're looking at right now. So let's move on to the next session. That will be the Extreme Solutions LVR 496 finale. We're going to clean off the foam pad between every section so we have no cross-contamination. And by the way, shake up your compounds, your polishes vigorously, get those rich formulas mixed up, and they'll be most effective that way. So yes, back to the training event. Really looking forward to it. I love meeting you guys face to face. We have a small group this time, somewhere between 10 and 15. We do have a couple spots left. But with the smaller group, in 2 days we can get a lot hands-on, and if you have some direct questions or need a little bit of work on this or that, I will spend some time with you, and we'll make sure you leave the event, leave the weekend set up and ready to start making money right away. I also have some enthusiasts dropping by, and they're taking a class to pick up some nuggets as to how to take care for and maintain their own vehicle. And thinking about it, as that session begins, and it's the beginning of November, which is very close to the end of the year, that may be the last one that we have or hold this year. So if you're interested in learning the process, the method, the chemicals, the tools, if you want to learn how to interact with customers, learn the basics all the way up to complicated wet sanding and rotary technique and marketing included, well, maybe we'll see you there. I sure look forward to it. Okay, so let's take a look at the Extreme Solutions finale. That has a decent cycle time as well, no dusting whatsoever. I could already tell you the finished polishes, they will not dust unless you have one that has a short cycle time out in direct sunlight and extreme heat. This one's easy to wipe off, and when it comes to gloss, let's take a look. Okay, 92 and 8/10 gloss units. Let's remove the meter and grab the panel prep and make sure there's no fillers within the formula. After the panel prep, the gloss in this section dropped back a little bit as well. We'll write that down and move on to the next section. AAT502. Now you're going to ask me, what's the difference between this and the ACA 520? Well, the adaptive abrasive technology is a little bit different than the alpha ceramic alumina abrasives. Now, one of them you can use the rotary, one of them you can use the rotary or DA, and then you're supposed to use their black foam finish pad for both of these to finish. I just believe it's another way to separate money from your wallet, and it's a gimmick you'll see from a lot of companies coming out with products that do pretty much the same thing. So let's run the polisher down this section and see if there's any difference between this one and the first one, the ACA 520. All right, let's bring in, there's no dusting whatsoever, and there is plenty of lubrication to have a long cycle time. You can work this as long as you want and go after the finish you're looking for, the depth and the clarity that you're looking for. Now, it's not too bad to wipe off. If you're in extreme heat and direct sunlight, it's a little tacky, a little oily like the ACA 500. I don't have a problem with it, and the 3D correction fluids are in my shop and used every single day. They are fantastic. There's no denying that whatsoever. So this one here with 93 and 2/10 gloss units, we're going to remove the emitter, grab the panel prep, and make sure there's no fillers here. This happens to be the highest gloss unit we have come across so far in these finished polishes, and we'll see if we can get a bit higher with the next two. Here's the final reading, and we'll mark that down on the masking tape right here. Moving on to yet another well-known polish. This is the Perfect Finish from Sonax. And we're going to clean off that pad once again so there's no cross-contamination. Shake up the formula vigorously and we'll get started. Sonax is yet another brand that has a ton of polishes and compounds. They have the Perfect Finish and the Cut and Finish. And then they have the 0505 and the Cut Max and the Ultimate Cut. There's just a lot to take in with all of them, teaming them up with the right pads and the right polishers. And it just takes a little bit of experience to do so. Having worked with this one for quite some time, I can tell you it does give you some extreme deep gloss, but the cycle time is shorter, especially for those working in direct sunlight or higher heat. So just be prepared to do another pass or two if you're in those conditions. If you're sheltered like I am, it'll be normal. Okay, so we could see some really nice readings with just a trip down and a trip back, but let me remove the meter and grab the panel prep and see if we have any fillers in play. We do drop back a little bit, and here is the final reading, and we'll write this one down as well. Moving on to the last section, we have a relative newcomer but growing in popularity, Koch-Chemie or Koch-Chemie KC 0302. This is a fine abrasive. This is a finishing polish, and we'll put a few drops on the cleaned foam pad, and we'll take this one for a test drive. Having worked with the whole line, the whole correction line, I'm very pleased with these correction fluids as well. The only problem, just a little bit more of a bite in their cutting compound would be absolutely fantastic. But listen, with the newer clear coats, the water-based clear coats that are going to be thinner and softer, and they take much longer to cure, you're not going to need something that really cuts and really bites. Even the Corvettes, guys, they're getting softer. There are going to be very few paint finishes that are hard and stubborn, and we'll have plenty that can still handle that type of a finish, but you're mostly going to need in your arsenal something that can take care of medium to soft and anything in between, that type of clear coat. And quite honestly, there's not enough clear coat on some of these finishes to really bear down and use a hard-hitting compound to begin with, so you'll be perfectly fine. No dusting whatsoever, plenty of lubrication there to leave that cycle time open as long as you need it. Even in heat and sunlight, this is a user-friendly polish, and I highly recommend. Easy to remove as well, so let's grab the gloss meter and let's take a look and see what we have. We're going to end up with 93.2, 93.3, somewhere in there. But let's grab the panel prep and make sure there's no fellers in play. And there we have the final reading for the KC, and that's the M302. That's a fine abrasive and is an excellent finishing polish. So remember, we started off with 54 gloss units, and we're ending up in the low towards the mid 90s. That is a huge jump. That's a lot of work for just a fine polish and the pad that we had on there. And we were using a 3-inch polisher, even though it had 12 millimeter throw. So let's put these in order. Number 1, we have Sonax. Number 2, Coach Chemi. Number 3, we have the AAT. Number 4, we have the ACA 500, and then Extreme Solutions rounds out the top 5. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Brian from Apex Detail, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next video.